This Impact Wrestling review was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Try it, and Shark Boy will pass a kidney stone the next time he tries to bring back the what chant. That's better. Okay, first things first. The Impact Fan Commentator Competition is now the Impact Fan Battle. It's back now after it took last week off, for some reason. So it's me versus a new guy. And once again, I'm asking you, my subscribers, for your support. I'm asking all of you to take a few moments out of your day to go to this web address that I just magicked onto the screen there. Ooh, magic. And vote for me to return next week. Link is also in the description box. Every vote is appreciated, and with your help, I know we can keep this thing going. Thanks in advance. So, with that shameless self-promotion out of the way, let's get to Impact. When you talk about Impact this week, you're kind of talking about two different shows. The first hour and 50 minutes or so ranged everywhere from good to blah, and then the final segment was really great. So much that it almost felt like it belonged on a different show. It was really surprising, actually. The opener was your typical Hogan promo that we've seen many, many times. Nothing out of the ordinary. Promos weren't the best here, but I do like how they're addressing the gravity of the Sting stipulation at the pay-per-view. They're getting over that Sting really doesn't have to go through with this, but he wants to because for him it's a matter of pride. It's a matter of deserving it. And I like that. I like that Sting feels like he doesn't deserve to be the world champion anymore if he can't beat Bully Ray. That justification wouldn't work for most characters, but for Sting it makes sense. Then Bully Ray and Brooke Hogan come out and they tease some stuff there. Bully says he still loves Brooke, which implies that him being in love with her was not just a ruse the whole time. That's a new wrinkle. I would prefer this not lead to a Brooke heel turn though, at least not at Slammiversary. If anyone's gonna cost Sting that match, it should be Matt Morgan. But hey, it's another storyline. And anything they can do to add some intrigue to the Aces and Eights angle can only be a good thing at this point. The segment felt like it was dragging towards the end, though. They probably could have shaved a few minutes off of this. It wasn't awful, but it felt like they gave it more time than it really needed. Sam Shaw versus Alex Silva never happens. The Aces and Eights take out Silva off camera because he had travel issues or something. Then they take out Shaw, which brings out Magnus, who challenges Wes Briscoe and almost beats him, but then the Aces and Eights cause a DQ and attack Magnus, which brings out Samoa Joe to run them off. A lot of stuff going on in this segment, and unfortunately, not all of it was good. Magnus's promo was good, but Briscoe's promo was bad. Wes is really miscast as a quote-unquote thug. He just comes off like a whiny douche.
Yet again, I am standing before another ignoramus.
Plus, the match is nothing to talk about. Briscoe is still underperforming, and the crowd wasn't really into it that much. They were popping for Magnus, they liked him, but they really didn't seem to care about Wes. And that's pretty typical of these Aces and Eights segments. Unless Bully Ray or Anderson are involved, this group just doesn't draw much heat.
You guys suck.
Nice pop for Samoa Joe, though. And I like that him and Magnus are still kind of semi-aligned, even if they're not officially a team anymore. That's a nice little nod to story continuity I appreciate. I was really happy to hear that Option C has not been done away with after all. That's awesome. I thought that was a really great idea for the X Division. And if Bully Ray is still the world champion after Slammiversary, like I suspect he will, then I can't see it being anyone but Chris Sabin cashing that thing in. Unless they want to turn Kenny King face, which seems unlikely right now. Would I expect Chris Sabin to actually win the world title with Option C? No. But that could be used as a platform to move him into the heavyweight division, which I think is where he should be at this point. And Sabin's done it all in the X division, and they've got enough talent to build around now that he's not really needed there. You know, they got Kenny King, P.D. Williams, Sanjay Dutt, Rockstar Spud, T.J. Perkins in the Suicide costume. I mean, those guys can carry the X division. And after he's been there for so long, won the title 4 times, I think it would be good for Sabin to do different things now and work with different people. So if they're going to do Option C again, I think that would be the way to go. X Division Contenders match, which unfortunately was spoiled the week before. I'm still not sure how that happened on a taped show. Match is pretty good. Suicide wins, which we already knew would happen. He looked impressive. Kenny King was very good on commentary. I'm glad they're looking for more ways to include him. No real complaints. The Suicide gimmick never did anything for me personally. I always thought it was kind of silly, but it must have some kind of fan base if people would vote for it to come back like this. I'd rather Petey or Sanjay get the pay-per-view spot, but I guess TNA really want to push this gimmick again, so we'll see where it goes. Hey, here's a match we've never seen before. Kurt Angle versus Ken Anderson. I'm at a point now with Angle where I just really want him to work with people that he hasn't worked with yet. And no, Wes Briscoe doesn't count. I'm not interested in Angle rehashing old feuds anymore. And yeah, Angle Anderson was great in the past, but it's just not what I want to see these days. I mean, the match wasn't bad, but they're obviously not going to top what they did a couple years ago. I mean, I started drifting, honestly. I was just waiting for AJ Styles to show up. And granted, we've seen Angle AJ like 10,000 times, but at least that one's got a little more going on after this week. Holy crap, talk about random. This James Storm segment went to a weird place. He comes out to talk about his partner at Slammiversary, but he gets interrupted by the Wet Dream Team and Bad Influence, who had some pretty funny lines for the short time they had to talk before things got strange. Damn it, TNA! I don't know what brain trust backstage thought it would be a good idea to rib me by putting Chavo Guerrero in the announce booth for this segment, but it wasn't funny, and you should know better by now. I mean, my God! Chavo now has the distinction of being the one and only wrestler TNA has had sit in on commentary who has not been better than Taz. Christopher Daniels on commentary was brilliant. Magnus was terrific. Kenny King was really good. But Chavo is just painful and awkward. The guy can barely string 2 sentences together. For Christ's sake, keep the microphone away from this guy.
And if you're not down with that, we have 2 words for you. You're welcome.
So then, Robbie E. and Shark Boy, of all people, both want to be Storm's partner. And could they have brought out 2 more random people for this? I mean, it was fun to see Shark Boy again, but this was bizarre. Then Gunner shows up, and he demolishes the comic relief babyface and the heel jobber. So I don't know what the hell we're supposed to think of Gunner right now. And now Gunner is Storm's tag team partner. I am glad they finally found a role for Gunner. I much prefer him to scrubs like Nux and Doc. But I think they missed an opportunity here by not having Crimson be Storm's partner instead. Crimson's undefeated streak was ended by James Storm at Slammiversary last year. So how perfect would it be for Crimson to return at the same pay-per-view as Storm's tag team partner? You know, that would have been really cool. But I'm not going to complain about Gunner because realistically they could have picked someone a lot worse. It's just a shame that there wasn't more of a reaction to this. It would seem like the crowd didn't recognize him, there was no pop for him, so his return fell a little flat, unfortunately. Velvet Sky versus Mickie James for the Knockouts title. This was not very good. Might have been partly because the crowd was dead for it, but this really wasn't clicking. Communication problems, Velvet's selling of the knee is I don't know what the hell she's doing. Not a good match, but the end was interesting. If it wasn't a complete Mickie heel turn, then she took a step toward one when she attacked the knee to win the match, and the crowd did react well to that part at least. But Mickie didn't break any rules, the trigger wasn't pulled completely, so it looks like the heel turn is going to continue to be a really gradual process, and I don't know if that's the right way to go. I like the turn, but I really wanted them to go further with it. I still think Mickie should have gone full-blown heel on Velvet in that match they had a few weeks ago. Not doing that always felt like a mistake to me, and it still does. There's long-term storytelling, and then there's just dragging stuff out. And that's what this feels like. The title change was cool, though. Velvet's reign was going absolutely nowhere, so this was for the best. And TNA needs stars with crossover appeal. Mickie is one of those people. She's got this music career, she has a new album out that, from what I hear, is really good, so it just makes sense to put the belt on her right now. The execution wasn't very well done in my opinion, but at least it accomplished something. And talk about a 180. The execution of the final segment was dynamite. Credit to the writers, they swerved me on this one. I thought no way was AJ going to join the Aces and Eights. And they went so far with teasing it, while at the same time giving no real indication that he was with them. He was just against Kurt Angle, which could be mistaken for the same thing. So I was expecting a fake out, but when AJ drank the beer, I thought, oh shit, it's really happening after all. Because if you know a little bit about AJ, you know him chugging a beer is a pretty big deal. He put the vest on, he attacked Angle with the hammer, and by then, they had me. I believed it. So when AJ attacked the Aces and Eights, I jumped out of my seat in surprise, legitimately. Because I didn't think they could push AJ that far and still pull him back. So even though I was expecting a fake out, with the way they did it, I was surprised when the fake out happened. And this was really brilliant because you think it's going to be a face turn or a heel turn, and then it was neither one, but it was still satisfying. AJ isn't with anyone. Not with the Aces and Eights, not with Hogan. AJ is with AJ. And that's awesome. It makes his match with Kurt Angle at the pay-per-view a little more interesting, and if AJ Bully Ray happens at Bound for Glory, this is where the seed was planted. I want more stuff like this final segment. Stuff like this needs to happen every week. That was very well done. The rest of the show was inoffensive, but not really noteworthy. Though I did like Samoa Joe's return, it's nice to see Gunner back finally, but the AJ segment was the major thing to take away from this. It's just a shame that things like this are too few and far between on Impact right now. Alright, you and Terminator NJ. The Slammiversary is right around the corner. But before that happens, I have to ask, how are you going to do this exactly? I mean, you guys are on different continents. Unless one of you plans to fly across the pond, how is this fight going to work? Not going to be an issue. I don't expect a brain-dead idiot like you to understand it, but it's a very simple hashtag 4D trick. Basically, I tear a little hole in the dimensional wall, fold space over itself. He can stay there, I can stay here. It'll be like we're standing in the same room. You can do that? Huh. Wow. So this is really going to happen. I got to admit, I'm really excited about this. I mean, collateral damage aside, there's a really good chance that one or both of you could die in this encounter. And I'm crossing my fingers because, well, let's be honest, the IWC would be a much better place without you two sons of bitches. But just out of curiosity, what's your plan for this fight? Terminator NJ is no joke. He might look like a normal human, but you know how it is. It's living tissue over metal endoskeleton. I mean, under that skin sack, he could be made of unobtainium for all we know. I mean, you can throw me around all day, sure, but this guy is in another weight class. That may be. But I came into being in an extra-dimensional plane of existence. One that grants me abilities far beyond those of mortal comprehension. My true powers have never been fully revealed. I've been waiting for the right time. That time has come. Really? So, is any of that actually true, or are you just blowing smoke? I never blow smoke.